Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today. It's Thursday morning. It's June 17th, 2021. The man they call Meathead and Matthew Thomas. Matthew, good morning to you, sir. How are you doing? How are things in Denver? You don't have any special cooked up drugs out there that are getting you all hepped up today, are you?
South of me, I'm not indulging, but no, there's a little. Apparently, there's a new strand of methamphetamine brewing in Colorado Springs, and that's how we like to start off each show: is giving you the latest update on current methamphetamine. I don't know if you'd say strand. I don't think methamphetamine.
No, not Victor Strand. It would be a strain.
Oh, strain. Okay. But yeah, that's all I know. But I'm hearing that there's a lot of stuff coming from that. And that's your methamphetamine update for today, brought to you by Matthew Thomas. Well, what's happening with you, Meathead?
Well, I mean, M stands for meth and Matthew, so.
And they're actually kind of close. If you say them real fast, it's hard to.
Meathead Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to understand what. We could have meat, the man they call Meathead, and the man they call Meathead.
Yeah, see, I was hoping you weren't going to go that route. We are the M&M team. So speaking of being a team, who's our team sponsor today?
That would be Collar & Elbow Brand, available online at collarandelbowbrand.com for you to peruse their fine selection of various garments for summer, for winter, for fall, for spring, all the seasons in between. It's collarandelbowbrand.com. And if you want to save some money, head on over there, enter promo code Linda, K-L-I-N-D-A, K-A-Y, and save that money. And, hopefully you can spend that money on something legal.
I hope so, too. You know where else I'd like you to spend the money? We're going to lead into our first story here. There is talks. It looks like it's official. On Wednesday, September 22nd, AEW will be running New York City, and they will be holding their Dynamite show in Queens on September 22nd. It looks like they're going to be doing, and this is per the New York Daily News, Arthur Ashe Stadium. Now, for those that are uninitiated, Arthur Ashe, a tennis legend, this is where they hold the U.S. Open. Arthur Ashe Stadium holds 24,000 fans in a tennis setting, and it's the first time that a wrestling show will be held there. I think this is amazing. If you really think about it, everybody's all just kind of centered in. It's almost like a bowl type setup where everybody's focused right down towards the center. I think they've struck gold here, and honestly believe that this will be an amazing show, and I think they're really going to, promote the hell out of it.
And I think it's going to be a very big test for AEW. I am of the mindset I am very bullish on AEW. And I think coming out of this pandemic, once they start running live shows, I think they can pull larger than the houses they were previously running. And I know they've got obligations to fill. And I know you would rather err on the side of a full hot house than you would, a half full or 3/4 larger venue. But I think AEW during this 15, 16-month period where WWE's been running empty arena shows, AEW's been running with the small crowd at Daly's Place, I think AEW has gained significant traction. And I think that AEW very possibly can start working bigger venues after, this touring cycle is done, after they fill the obligations that they had from the previous dates. I think this is going to be that very big test for AEW to see what they can pull in a major market like this.
Can you imagine what this will be like? I mean, literally, it's going to be called Grand Slam. I mean, of course, they're going to call it Grand Slam. Here's a quote from Chris Jericho in the New York Daily News. He says, yeah, sure, we could have run the Garden or we could have done the Barclays Center, but those do have a WWE brush on them. Let's go somewhere else and make that our New York market arena. Oh, my God, that makes perfect sense. Let's go to Arthur Ashe Stadium, and now that becomes the AEW stronghold in the middle of New York, which is McMahon country. So when they run New York, they run it at the Arthur Ashe Stadium.
And it aesthetically looks different than those other two buildings as well, too.
Yes.
And, man,
we all understand what the, Madison Square Garden, setup looks like.
But how insanely interesting is it to hear another company talk about running another venue in New York that's not, a company that's not WWE talking about running New York and competing with Vince? Quintessentially, it's what Jericho's talking about right there. Having their mainstay, their staple building in New York. We're in a different era of wrestling now that we haven't seen in a couple of decades.
Yeah, and WCW, when they did come to New York, they always went to the home of the Islanders.
Yeah.
So, New York City has always been a city of, that's the city so nice, named twice. They also have doubles on just about everything else. They got 2 football teams, 2 baseball teams. Technically they've got 2 basketball teams, the Nets and the Knicks. And, when 2 wrestling companies run there, one does the other. So, AEW at this moment might be the Mets of, New York, but so what? The Mets won the world championship too.
Absolutely. And it's a very exciting time. And
I'm excited for this show. I really am. We were going, you and I, before we get on the air, we're going through, here's the news I found. Oh, wait a minute. What is this? And this is the one we're leading with, because it's huge news.
And how often is the AEW news new and exciting? And I get the fact they're still a relatively new company. They're going to be trying things here and there. But my goodness, there is a buzz, and there is that. You don't feel like there is a pullback. You had it so many times with TNA, with Impact, where they would make a big move and you would feel that pullback.
They had to slide back.
Yes. And we've not gotten that from AEW thus far. It's been, it's been full steam ahead, and it's been going forward the whole time. And this is, I think, another chapter in that.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe AEW hasn't been perfect. I mean, we'll put that right out there. But
no, absolutely.
I remember AEW starting off in the first couple of weeks with some Ricky and Morty stuff, and I just, what the heck is this?
Yep,
and then they moved on from it, right? WCW had, Rick Steiner talking to Chucky on the big screen.
Yeah. No, AEW's had a lot of missteps. I mean, go back 3 or 4 months, and listen to these programs, listen to us talk about the women's tournament, where you really still, had not done anything to create that much of a women's division. Listen to the Omega Moxley match with the sparklers going off in the ring. I mean, there were a lot of missteps, man. And I feel like we've done a pretty consistent job of calling it down the middle like we see it. And AEW now, I really think they have kind of hit another gear. And I think that night with Moxley and Omega, I think that was a bit of a turning point for AEW. I've seen a different gear since that night, and it was shortly thereafter, I believe, we got the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa match where we were talking about the women's division again. Mm-hmm. And, there's missteps. There's 77, I think, stables in AEW right now. There's rankings.
And they're all lined up for a trios tag team title shot.
Yeah, there's rankings that may or may not get updated. There's shortcomings there, but at the end of the day, they're not letting, when they do have a misstep or a shortcoming, there's acknowledgement of it and there's moving past it. And they're not doubling down on these shortcomings. They are, kind of trying to go through it. And I think,
they only double or nothing once a year or so.
Yeah. And then double down hasn't come up yet, but yeah. So no, that we're at an interesting time, man. WWE and AEW soon getting ready to go back on the road, and we're gonna have 2 touring companies that are, kind of going up against each other. And I know we had that a little bit with AEW's initial run, but you stop and think about it, man. AEW's Dynamite went live in September, October of 19,
and by September, right after Labor Day.
And by March of 2020, man, early March of 2020, this stuff had shut down. So AEW has not had a proper consecutive year of touring. I mean, it was months ago, but the number was given that there had been more shows done at Daly's Place in front of no audience than AEW had shot in front of a live audience with Dynamite.
Yep. One other thing I want to mention, too, I believe Arthur Ashe Stadium is an open building. It's an open roof.
That would make sense.
Like a WrestleMania in Orlando, you got to have the big tarp out there. Or a WrestleMania in Tampa, when it's raining outside, you got to have the big tarp out.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll make proper arrangements.
Okay, so excited. September 22nd, Arthur Ashe Stadium, Grand Slam from AEW. One other quick note here before we talk about the Andre the Giant stuff from A&E. The King of the Ring, not officially announced yet, but is on its way. Defending King of the Ring champion Baron Corbin. I don't see him winning it again. He's going to be wrestling for his crown this Friday night on SmackDown against Shinsuke Nakamura. Who do you see as an early favorite to be the new 2021 King of the Ring?
I'm going to throw a name out there. Cedric Alexander.
Oh, that is a long shot. He's
Yep.
definitely a name, but a long, long shot. I'm going to go up one, and I'm going to say Xavier Woods.
Yeah. Yeah, I can buy that. I can buy that. That's a good move right there. That's a good move. It gives him a singles push. It gives him a reason to go singles without New Day or him and Kofi breaking up.
They've done a great job of getting those guys to be able to be singles and stay New Day.
No, without a doubt. And you still, even though he's on a different show, you still feel like Big E is a part of New Day. You don't feel like he's necessarily separated.
When they haven't done that in a while. I mean, whenever there's a breakup, you have to bust up the team and they have to hate each other for the first month.
Here's what I want to see, though, coming out of this King of the Ring. And it wouldn't, I know it's not on the pay-per-view schedule, but it would not hurt me. It would not hurt my feelings at all for them to go back to, have your finals at the very least on a King of the Ring show. But my goodness, let's get rid of the crown and the robe and the scepter. Give it a stake. Give it a title shot at SummerSlam. Give it a title shot somewhere. But let's get out of this mindset that whoever wins this tournament has to pretend they're a king for a year. It's old and it's tired. It worked with Booker T. It's worked a handful of times, but you got to move past
It worked
that.
very minimally with King Corbin, actually, too. It did work for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But I mean, we're a full year into that reign, and you're still talking about his king gimmick, and he's fighting over that and this, that, and the other. Just give me a straight ahead. Give me stakes on the line. Give me a title shot.
Give me King Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Ooh,
King Haku.
Yeah, or maybe Duggan actually enters it this year and wins it.
The Macho King. Yep.
Yep.
All right, Matthew Thomas. That's a little bit of news. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Andre the Giant, A&E biography, but not really a biography. This was the Hidden Treasures. So they spent 2 hours looking for a handful of items. They looked for passports. Remember when Andre the Giant was the giant machine from Japan?
Yeah.
So he wore a mask. And they're looking for a couple of other pieces. Andre the Giant is a very unique individual. One, he was a guy that transcended wrestling, okay? So, I mean, Andre the Giant had a match against Antonio Inoki. Am I saying his last name wrong again?
Inoki, right?
Yeah, Inoki, the New Japan Pro Wrestling guy from the Korea episode. He is a guy that's also met Muhammad Ali. I mean, he's a guy that was bigger than wrestling. Again, we don't need to tell you about The Princess Bride. He was amazing in The Princess Bride. Andre the Giant had this great career, and I love what they did here. Not only AJ Francis. AJ Francis is a star of the show. They reached out to the Big Show before he was released, and or not released, but before he signed on with AEW, and said, "Hey, we got a mission for you." Big Show reached out to Mark Henry, who loves Andre the Giant. Mark Henry is a very emotional guy, as you've seen in this program. About 4 or 5 times, the guy just broke down and started crying. I loved that, and not knowing how good of friends that Mark Henry and Big Show are. Do you think, before we get into this episode, do you think they talk to each other? Hey, you know what? Maybe you should come over too. I'm over here. Why don't you come over?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean,
it's just ironic that here's this airing, and those guys are both all elite now.
Yeah, I don't think that happened by accident.
So, let's talk about the Andre the Giant match now, or the Hidden Treasures. We've all seen the HBO special with brand new footage of him as a young man in France. Him, going from, country to country, match to match. Sometimes he did, 9 or 10 cities in a week. So that meant he was driving. We all know that Andre the Giant struggled to live a normal life because things weren't built for his size, right? He was continually growing. He had, giant syndrome is what they called it, where his glands and all of his, everything else was still continuing to grow and never stopped. When Big Show was brought into WCW, he was billed as Andre the Giant's son, right? He had the exact same affliction, but he was young enough, and modern technology had advanced to the point where they were able to get that tumor out of Big Show, and he finally stopped growing. So, Matthew, I want you to talk about the first portion here. What was it like watching Andre the Giant, and as kid in the episodes you see? Do you remember the machines from Japan?
I knew of it.
I was going to say, age-wise, you might not have watched it live.
Yeah, I had forgotten about it until this thing aired. Yeah, and really what struck with me is, with Andre, especially knowing most likely that he was not going to live a long life.
Right.
And the life that he did live, major attraction, but yeah, just day to day, whether it be an airplane, whether it be a car, whether it be sitting in a booth at a restaurant. Exactly. Just the day to day struggle of just being him in a lot of cases. And that they did a really good job. And of course the HBO special was fantastic. It's been a couple of years since I've watched that.
Tim White was a big star of that one.
Yeah, they did a great job here. Really going in depth, much more so on this one than I've seen on the Hidden Treasures, of a really very much a biopic themed episode.
Yeah. And I loved it because technically the biographies are done, but they still have 2 weeks worth of, Hidden Treasures. This 2-hour special on Andre the Giant, and coming up next week, a 2-hour special basically featured around Ric Flair.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be a very interesting one as well, too. But I was glad to see that they do have a lot of stuff of Andre's already, in
that cast.
Dude,
that
in WWE.
Stephanie said she played in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how big that cast is.
That was huge. I was a little bit uncomfortable when Stephanie was talking about her first dinner date was with Andre at 14,
because they think that I'm a dirty man.
Especially some of the content that we've reviewed here in the last couple of weeks, man. I could have done with that being edited out there.
But you know what? That truly was, and I mean, we've heard it in many other interviews and many other styles. That was Stephanie's first real friend.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I wonder, because we watched Young Rock this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the Young Rock stuff with Andre real, or is that the Stephanie McMahon relationship?
Yeah, who knows, man?
Or did Andre have relationships with Young Rock and Stephanie?
Well, at least as it goes to Stephanie, it's very interesting because they were talking about their exchange, I believe, at some party or something where Andre was kind of by himself and Stephanie was kind of by herself. And, you couldn't draw a bigger parallel in stature or age. But my goodness, I think, a young child like that and somebody the likes of Andre, I think there was both that sense of isolation there for both of them. And I think that's potentially why they connected like they did, is because they, at the same time, felt like they were kind of outliers,
alienated, outcasts. Yeah. And again, Hollywood being what it is, when you watch something that's supposed to be true to life, there's always little pieces taken from here and there. I would have no problem if we found out that Young Rock, that storyline came from Stephanie and Andre. I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay if it was real, or if they had a different relationship, because the way they played it out, Andre the Giant was always at Rock's grandma's house.
Yeah.
While Macho Man's laying there naked in a hotel room.
Yeah, no, that's reasonable.
So again, not a problem. I'm okay with all of it. So let's talk about probably one of my favorite things of all time, not WrestleMania 3, which was great, and it's it is what it is. 93,000. Andre gets slammed by Hogan, but the main event. How much for the plastic surgery, brother?
Yeah.
Andre wins,
absolutely.
Instantly sells the belt to Ted DiBiase, and Ted DiBiase becomes the world heavyweight champion unofficially until Jack Tunney says no. And it sets up WrestleMania 4, which is the tournament.
Yep, and just the twin referee angle, and when people in the inner circles probably knew there were twin Hebners, but for the casual fan watching, I believe that was Saturday night's main event.
The first ever.
What an interesting angle. What an interesting angle for you to see this referee that looks just like the other referee. My goodness. You couldn't do that now in the internet age because information's just so much out there.
Couldn't do it with the Hebners either because we know he's got a brother.
Yeah, but my goodness. You talk about just a classic wrestling angle.
I loved it. And I ate it up. I thought it was fantastic. So, and again, we didn't know because the internet wasn't there at that point that Earl Hebner had a brother, and he had a twin, Dave Hebner, and Dave was a backstage official, which was fantastic. I mean, you're right, couldn't do it again. The end of Andre's run, it was sad to see. Again, we've seen this before. Andre walking to the ring with those walkers, attached to your forearm and helping him walk up. And, what I really was appreciative and happy to hear was that he had made friends in Embry, North Carolina, and basically bought some land. Would you mind watching the land for me and, be my friends? And then entire town protected him.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, let's go to the search between AJ Francis, Big Show. Then they enlist Mark Henry. They stop at Sonny Ono's house, right? Sonny Ono came off like a huge piece of garbage. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, it was not very flattering.
The wrestling business is what it is. People work people, and it's kabuki, shenanigans, whatever you want to call it. Dude, they brought in Big Show, Mark Henry, and AJ Francis in the Sonny Ono's house. Oh, yeah, this is original mask. Okay, I have other people that are going to bid on it, too. Let's go to the auction. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I thought, if I'm Big Show and I'm Mark Henry, and Mark Henry wears his emotions on his sleeve.
Yeah.
I thought I'm walking in here and we know each other. We're in the business together.
Yeah.
You're just going to sell it to me and we don't have to. Nope.
Yeah.
He's got some online marks that are selling against him. And Big Show says, look, we don't need it. Yeah. 5's our number, and I'm not going to send over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that was, very, very reasonable of them to stand their ground, especially after the situation that they walked into. And
do you believe that Sonny Ono also told these guys, oh, yeah, Mark Henry and Big Show are going to come, and they'll be in this auction, too?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. So, yeah, my goodness, that was from
dirty.
What we've seen so far. I mean, pretty much everybody they're trying to buy from, they haven't had that much of a problem. You've had some people that they have to twist their arm a little bit to let go of stuff, but I don't think you've seen a bait and switch like you saw in this episode.
Sonny Ono gave him the bait and switch. Now the other guy that had the passport said, "Look, I'm not selling it," but he at least said, "Look, I want to do something with you guys. How about I borrow you this suit on loan?" Cool. I appreciate that. These guys paid whatever they paid for it, right? So they're not going to be giving away stuff for free. However, I think that was a very level move for him. Hey, you know what? How about you can use this? You can do whatever. AJ Francis in the one negotiation said that, look, I'm supposed to ask for permission. The warehouse is a very exclusive tour, but I don't care. I'm using this. It's my card to play. So I got him a WWE warehouse tour.
No, absolutely. And I mean, you got to think too that this is planting the seeds, hopefully, for a potential future actual physical Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and what did the one guy say? The guy on the promo that says we got a Holy Foley situation. He's got the Detroit guy. He did that, and there was another guy in another episode that says, "Look, we're going to work with you, so hopefully you and I can work together." I mean, they planted these seeds to have a working relationship, so everybody's copacetic, everything's cool, right? Sonny Ono, too, and as bad as they probably felt over what happened, I'm pretty sure they aired that because they wanted to run his name through the mud.
Yeah. Now you got to wonder, you got to wonder how much is done for entertainment purposes and this, that, and the other. But when you get to, he worked them. Well, and when you get to stuff where it's a little bit of, I don't know, or somebody driving a hard bargain, you can make that case. But for something like this,
and most of these people said, look, it's not a money grab, right? It's I got to be able to pay for this and I got to justify it. Yeah. So I can't get walked on. But let's see what we can do. The guys in this online bid, they were just straight up jags.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I need to do kind of a low budget version of this. I think you and I need to have each week, we need to go out to different thrift stores and see what kind of wrestling memorabilia you and I can garner at various thrift stores.
I'll tell you what, you go right ahead. I'm not a big thrift store fan.
Yeah.
Please go for it, and then we'll put it right on this air.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Yeah.
Matthew Francis. Yeah. There you go.
Matthew Francis. That's right.
All right. Finally, I loved Andre's friend that shared the ranch with him, having an Andre the Giant museum in Embry, North Carolina, and said, look, I can't give you that, but how would I give you something else? and they found another passport, and that passport was literally loaded with everything they were looking for. And they just took care of him. Even ashes. Dude, I had no idea. Bring the Tupperware bowl. Tupperware bowl? What the hell? Oh my gosh, they're taking some of the dirt. What is ashes in it?
Wow.
That was glorious. She took care of him.
Yeah. Yeah, now when you're leaving there with ashes, man, I think it's a bit more than anybody's expecting.
It was fantastic. I really appreciated the way she took care of them, and they took care of her. And again, you got Mark Henry crying, so it must be a good thing.
Yeah,
I wanted to hug Mark Henry at a couple points. I just felt bad for him.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of hugs to dish out in Dallas. We want to hug Mick Foley, and
that's really what the party's going to be about. It's hugs, right?
Yeah. Mark Henry, and I want to hug Bret Hart too. And so we got 3.
Well, we're gonna have to bring Bill Goldberg into the Bret Hart hug and just make him hug it out.
You and I know you want to hug Jake, man, but you got to be careful because you might get a roll of quarters.
Yeah, but I've never done anything to Jake, so you know what? I want to hug DDP too because he's an angel in disguise.
Yeah, no, he's definitely getting some hugs. That's what our event in Dallas. It's just a hug fest.
It's a hug party because there ain't no party like a hug party.
I think the kids call it a cuddle puddle.
That might be another show for after hours.
Meathead and Matthew, PWR. What did I say? Cuddle puddle.
Yeah.
2022 Dallas. Book.
Here we go. Matthew, I know I did this to Linda, and I did it to Uncle Al here. Are you ready? It's time for the man they call Meathead to go inside you.
Oh, I love this part.
Hello, I'm the man they call Meathead. I'd like to enter inside you and talk inside you. I'm inside your ear now. Matthew and Meathead would like to do a cuddle puddle with you. That's right. A little cuddle, a little puddle. Maybe the puddle's from excitement. We don't know. The man they call Meathead and Matthew Thomas in a cuddle puddle. Brought to you by the PWR this April. Oh, woof.
Book it. I'm going to get on the horn now and see what kind of talent we can run.
I dare you to go, folks that are listening, I dare you to go ahead and Google cuddle puddle. Please do not send the pictures to myself. Send them to Matthew Thomas at the Real M Thomas on Twitter.
Yeah, send me all your cuddle puddle pictures.
All right. Well, I'm going to send us home here. So Matthew Thomas, tomorrow morning, Friday morning, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Dynamite on Saturday. We're going to talk about the SmackDown on Friday, and we're also going to talk about Hell in a Cell is coming up Sunday. So we got a big show tomorrow morning. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call me today. Thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.